Hi, my name is Noel Davis with Wormiculture, and here it is, our last update for our new worm bin. I should say update, but this one, this will be it. We're going to go look at the worm bin, and then I'm going to start sorting it, and this is going to be the sorting video. I don't know how long this is going to take, I don't know how big these files are going to be, and I don't know how long this will take me to upload. But I'm going to do this probably in one continuous take. I'm going to set up here, and then I'm going to have this go in high speed for everybody. Sorry for the delay on this, but I did want to let it sit for a bit and kind of let the worms work through all the material. Hopefully everything is composted by now and there's no fruits or veggies left in it. I have in the past found some banana peels and things like that. Hopefully we won't have any of those. But let's take a look at the bin before we start sorting it. So, sorry, this is my first time using this tripod, so we'll see if this is smooth or not. So here's our bin. So let's take a look here. A little bit of moisture on the top, but not too bad. Looking on here, it looks like there's some little red mites. I'm not sure if you guys can see them or not, but there's some little tiny mites like over here. So there are some red mites in here, but it's not bad looking. And now look at this material. This is really, let me grab my little thing here. Really well composted. This is really thick actually. This is overly composted now. It's a little bit too moist, but look at this. And look at all the worms in there. So we're going to try to sort all these out. This is a little thick, but it's not too bad. I've had it a lot worse before. I probably could have left the top on and let it, or off and let it dry out a bit, but look at all the worms already in this material that I'm just kind of digging up here. The corners are definitely thicker. Here, let me see if I can get this out here. As you can tell, it's actually taking the shape of the wall there really well. And I haven't stirred this, I haven't touched this bin since I have not even touched this bin since I left it. Basically, I've looked at it just to make sure it's not too dry, and that's it. I have not added any water though. I haven't needed to. But I mean, look at this. So some of this has worms in it, some of it doesn't. We're gonna sort it. We're gonna see how it is. But this all looks incredibly composted. This is actually one of the best bins I've seen for me working on them. Typically they are overly moist. There's water pooling in them. There's no water pooling at the bottom here. Even more worms, but there's some cardboard left over at the bottom actually. Look at that piece of cardboard right here. Actually. I don't have my gloves on yet, so I don't really want to touch it, but there are cocoons all over this piece of cardboard here. If I can get it over here where you can see it, and flip it over. There's actually cocoons. Let's see if I can zoom in here a bit. See, there's some cocoons right here on this cardboard. So they are definitely, and actually there's more up here. There's actually 4 of them that I see, 5. So they are still multiplying in here. They're still putting down cocoons. They're trying to reproduce, even though there's no food in here except for this cardboard at the bottom, really. So this is really surprising. I didn't think that there'd be anything left in there. Let's just zoom in a little bit more. Oh, now it's going to zoom out. Hold on here. There we go. So yeah, so you should be able to see them on there, the little tiny circles. So let me set up here, and we're going to start sorting this, and I'm going to let you watch the process of how I set up here and how I sort. So I'm going to back up here. Back up. All right. Now what I'm going to do is, if you can't tell, I've got quite a bit of light. This is actually where I'm going to sort. I'm going to take this right now, move it off to the side. And I'm going to grab my sorting bin that I use. Just try to put it in the best spot for you. I also have a light here that I'm going to use to add a little bit more light to just right on the bin. And I have my bins stacked up so I can use them to kind of support it. Now, for any worms that we find after we're sorting, I'm going to put them in here. We're going to measure it. We're going to weigh them and see how much are left in here. I think I started with a little bit less than a pound, so it should be a little bit more. Actually, I might have started with a pound. I can't remember exactly if I measured them perfectly or not. And then, of course, one thing that I have mentioned before in the past to everybody, and I highly, highly recommend you do this too when you're working with your worms, is I wear gloves. And I bought these disposable gloves here at Home Depot. So, you know, I've got my glove. And the only reason why I do that is because this stuff gets all over my hands, it gets in my fingernails, and then when you're working with it this long, your hands start drying out. So I find it a lot better to just use gloves than to do it by hand, which is what I used to do. So, all right, we're ready to go here. Actually, I'm going to point this down a little bit more. So you're really looking at the bin. There we go. Good, nice solid base. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold on just a second here. I'm going to take a few shovelfuls and I'm going to put this in. So this is exactly what I'm going to do. Actually, this is a little bit too slow that way. Hold on, give me a second here. Now these worms should be well ready to get out of here, I think. And they should still be, they're very moist, it looks like in here, so it's not, they should have no problem getting out. We're sorting through, wow. As you can tell, that's pretty thick. Now, I did find one thing in here. Here's a piece of burlap. Now, when you're sorting your worms, don't be exact. I'm going to be very honest with you. It's impossible to get every worm out, and it's just not possible. I've tried, and you know, I thought, oh, I got to get every single worm. I got to save everything that I can, and then I was like, you know what? This is ridiculous. I'm spending hours trying to get 3 or 4 worms, and I realized I needed to change my tactics, and that's where I went to a more approach of grab everything as quick as I can. Anything that takes a while, just ignore it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to stack this up. These are, I'm going to shake some of these worms off of here. Oh, maybe not. All right, we're just going to put that over there for now. So there's our first worm we're going to sort. And I'm going to put that in my bucket for now. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly sort these, but I'm going to do this by light. So what I'm going to do is, as you can tell, if you look at this, almost all the worms have sunk down now. That's why I have a really bright light right here, so that way they go down a little faster. Now this is a little bit thicker than I would have liked. I would have liked this to be a little bit more loose instead of quite this muddy. So I'm probably going to have this go maybe a fast speed a little bit. I don't think you guys are going to want to sit through an hour video of me just sorting through worms, which I don't blame you. So here we go. This is the start of the sort process. This is what we're going to do. Now there's a worm in here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these chunks like this, and actually looks like there's a cocoon on the end right there, if you guys can see that. Right there at the tip there's a cocoon, so for those that are curious. And we're going to let this sit for a minute as the worms dig down. Actually, I'm seeing a lot of cocoons in here now that I look. I've got another one right here, one right there, one right here. So they were really starting to multiply in here, which can happen. I've read a couple times that the best way to have a bin for multiplying is to actually have a really poor one, or one that's really fully composted. And the idea is that the worms start getting worried. You know, they're not worried, I want to say, but they start thinking, all right, I need to produce here because we're going to die off, and they don't want to have nothing left after like a winter or something like that. So they start producing more and more cocoons. And I've read of a few people that what they will do is they will sort all their worms like this, or through a sorting machine. And then what they do is they actually put all the material to the side and put just a little bit of food on top, and that way any worms that hatch will go to the food, and that way they can harvest everything else. Now here's something. I don't know what this piece of plastic is from, but I'm going to put that over here. I try to throw away those pieces of plastic instead of keeping them in my stuff. But look how many little tiny worms are in here. So I mean, there's just a lot of, like, I don't know whether I think that one I might put some of this stuff back into another worm bin to try to get those out, and after these large worms are sorted through here. So, we've sorted the worms, and it's not nearly as many worms as I thought it would be. I mean, they don't even fill this container. This would be about a pound. So there's less worms coming out than going in, but part of that is the sorting process. I really should have sorted this sooner. This is as thick as mud, and it's really hard to sort it. There are a ton of worms left over in my sorted pile, or I should say my unsorted pile, that, you know, it's what I sorted through, but what's left is not really sorted still. So I'm actually going to show you here. If I rip this apart, you're going to see tons of worms in there still. So it shows how many worms you can leave behind, especially when sorting a thick compost like this, and why you should really sort it sooner when it's more, you know, kind of like granular, and it's easy to, it'll just slide right through your fingers. So let me show you here. I'm going to go back down. So this section right here, this is all left over from the sorting. Now, if I rip this open, you can still see worm right there, worms here. There's worms all through this, and there's a ton of them, but look how thick this is. See, this is way too thick. I really should have sorted this when it was a little bit thinner. I mean, this is the consistency of mud, but there's just so many worms left in here. I just cannot, I don't have the patience to sort them, and I don't have the time, really. I mean, I'm going to have one video or a couple of videos of this probably with different speeds that I sort them, but there's a ton of worms left in here. So what's going to happen is that these are probably going to go back into a bin. Some of these are probably going to be used for other purposes in my yard to help the grass and plants grow, but you know, this is just way too thick to really sort properly. Now, if I had some sort of machine where I could dump it in multiple times and sort it, which I'm trying to design one or find a way to make one that's affordable and not thousands of dollars. If I could do that, maybe I would, I'd be willing to sort this further by just keep dumping it on over and over again until it's kind of really fully sorted. But that's not something I have at this time. Now, the other thing, let's see if I can find any here, is I kind of held them up, but there are a lot of cocoons in here. It's to the point where probably if I left this out and put some food on top, this would have more worms, and probably just as many worms as I pulled out just now. There are a lot of cocoons. I was actually quite surprised by how many are in here. I can't seem to find any right now, but here we go. So let's just see here if we can find one. So here's one right here. So I found multiple of these in the bin, and so this is going to have a lot more worms in it. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to probably add part of this to other bins, and I'm probably also going to start my bin again with this pre-composted material. And this is basically, this is really good for that type of starting a new bin, because it's basically saying, here's your living material. There's already the bacteria you need in here and the microbes, and there's already worms in here. There's already cocoons. You're going to have a variety of worms as soon as it starts. So this is a really good way to start a bin. And I'm probably going to take, if I had to guess, probably about this much and dump it right back into the bin that we just emptied with new bedding and some food, and I'm going to get it going right away. This part will probably be dumped in another bin that's not doing too well, or maybe split it between a couple bins. But the idea is to get some more of this material and more of the cocoons and worms in there, so that way those bins start doing better. So that's what I'm going to tell you. As far as what we have in here, again, I have a lot of stuff on top. That's what happens is, you just keep sorting it out. If you wanted exactly only worms in here, you load them up like this. You put it under a light, just like this, and you would just slowly but surely sort them, and they would sort themselves. They keep sinking to the bottom. So I'm actually going to flip this over, and you see it's all worms on the bottom there. They keep working their way down, and you just keep pulling the stuff off the top just like this, and they'll keep going down and down and down, and eventually there's only worms left on top, and they will keep going down to get underneath the other worms. So as far as material, this is some of the material. I had to get rid of some of it and put it in these buckets. And hold on, I've got actually 2 of those. And then I also had some material that was not composted. So this is actually some of the stuff from when I first started the bin. This is cardboard that just never seemed to get touched. There's actually some worms on it. This is again going to go into a bin, so that way it'll be composted. So that's what it's going to happen with this. So that is my update here for this bin, and we are finished. I'm not going to have any more bin updates for a new bin. I'll probably continue to update my coffee bin for you, but that's it for this. And I hope your worm bins did as well, or if not better. Hopefully you don't have a thick muck like this to sort through at the end. Hopefully you're sorting yours a little quicker. I was a little busy and just ran out of time and finally got to it. So this is a little thicker than I'd like. If I had added some more bedding to it, maybe that would have helped, but I don't know. It's really thick. So, all right. Thank you.